So there are a couple things that I came across in the last week or so that kind of have stuck in my mind, and I don't know. I think I feel like I need to just kind of talk it out. I was watching an interview, and the interviewer was asking the person being interviewed about the difference in mindset from a kid to now in adulthood. Now, let me give the backstory. This is an interview. They're interviewing an escort, right? A female escort, and talking about her outlook on life as a child, and after being in quote unquote the game for like 10 years, her outlook on life now. And she said something that was crazy, but it wasn't crazy. And I think that's why I'm talking about it. It wasn't crazy. It was actually a profound statement. She said she was in a dark place when she was a kid, but now she thinks bigger, and anything in life is obtainable or attainable. And I sat back and I thought about that statement, and I was like, the statement, the context that it was of the interview, how it was asked, who was asked to, that person, their lifestyle choice, all of those things were so powerful in the moment that I was like, yo, I have to talk about it, or what it makes me feel like, because she's absolutely right. Anything in life is attainable or obtainable. And I don't know if it's good or bad, or if it's just the reality, but I think as a person, I don't say the struggle, but the process that I feel like I'm not necessarily learning about, but just watching and seeing on a day-to-day basis, starting with myself, is like, what are you willing to do or not do to attain or obtain the things in your life that you believe that you want? And reconciling those choices, and even possibly altering your wants or desires or possible needs. I mean, we're living in the age where, in real life, a man or a woman can, for all intents and purposes, try to change what they were born as. Like, literally changing yourself has never had it is a literal definition. Like, you can put woman body parts on a man, vice versa. You can turn a man's body parts into a woman's body parts, or a replica thereof, or an attempted replica. You can take hormones to try to change your body chemistry and alter how your hormones naturally exist in your body. The science of altering someone's mental state has always been around, from soldiers in boot camp to hypnosis to all of these things, breaking down someone's mentation and building it back up has been a thing for decades, maybe even centuries. And it's literally create a player. Like anybody who's played video games, you can literally try to create yourself into whatever it is that you want to create yourself. There's someone out there willing to experiment to say that they were able to give a person their wildest dream or fantasy with regards to creating their self-image. Now, with that being said, all of the things that go along with these alterations, those are that's the fee. That's the toll to cross the bridge. That's the cost of whatever it is that you're trying to do to yourself. It was interesting to me for this person who found financial freedom, so to speak, from using her body to perform services for customers. Which, again, it's a personal choice. She does what she does, and that's fine. And I say that because I don't control anybody else's life. It's not a morality thing for me. But throughout the interview, she spoke about how it changed her mentally and emotionally and her outlook on things that, as human beings, our humanity is constructed of, the ingredients of our humanity, and the effect that her life prior to her chosen profession and her life after, how those things were affected, how they came into existence, how they were altered, how they were affected, and where they're at right now. But all of those things, when asked the question about the biggest change for her, was the realization of possibility. And again, that was a profound statement to me, but it was something that I think resonates with everyone. But for me, of course, I overthink, I guess. It's what toll, what cost are you willing to incur? What are you willing to pay? What are you willing to give to achieve whatever it is that you're looking for in life? It's not a sacrifice, right? I'm not sacrificing money to the grocery store when I go to shop for food. It's not a sacrifice. You're paying. It's an exchange of energy. It's an exchange. You're giving something of yourself to get something for yourself. even in charity, even in philanthropy, right? And it doesn't have to be for nefarious reasons. You want to feel of service, so you serve. There's nothing, there doesn't have to be a connotation to that. Because no matter what your reason for doing it, if a millionaire wants to donate money to a charity as a tax write-off, instead of paying his taxes, hopefully, someone who really needed that money or the services that money could provide still ate, still had a place to stay, still got resources because that billionaire got a tax write-off. So perspective is everything. And in addition to those services and that aid being met, tax dollars were taken away from a city, a state, a nation that could have helped in another way. These things aren't linear, and I think that is what I like to explore within my own thought process, because I like to know the reasons and understand the reasons why I would or would not do a certain thing. It helps me not necessarily justify, but I like logic with my emotion. I like to understand why I feel and why I'm doing and why I want and don't want the things that how I filter out my existence. So again, that statement and just the whole sphere of energy and existence around that statement, and it just seemed very powerful to me. This is something that I needed to talk about and flesh out and share. Like, anything in life is possible if you're willing and able, not even able, if you're willing to pay the cost, if you're willing to pay that fee, pay that fare, if you're willing to accept the consequences of that decision, you can do anything, you can be anything. And in a very real way. And I think grappling with the dichotomy of that, and not necessarily using self-hypnosis and removing all the negative or the unwanted noise that comes along with the decision, but actually sitting in it. I think that's an addition. That's the other part that really fascinates me about that statement and about that reality, is that I want to feel all the feels. So I don't just make a decision based off of what I want and getting what I want out of it. I'm really contemplating, can I deal with all of the things that come along with the choice to go after and create that reality for myself? And some might say it makes me indecisive. It sounds very scatterbrained when I talk about it out loud. I've had people in situations hear me have that conversation, try to have that conversation with them, but I'm really talking to myself out loud. And they're just like, you're all over the place. And that's the reality, is because so many things are affected by these choices that we make. And to me, it would be delusional to make a decision not think about or miss out on a possible side effect, and then that side effect happened to you, and then you're confused as to why this thing came to pass. And it's like, but you did this thing. What did you think was going to happen? How do you think that's going to occur? And because I think like that, it seems like when I encounter people and I speak about that, it sounds like, oh, you're speaking negative, or you don't know. And listen, we use deductive reasoning and logic to explain a lot of things, to give reason or foresight into. And it's not about control. It's just about, if I slam the door, it's going to make a loud noise. Like, that's a logical, 1 + 1 = 2. It's not far-fetched. I'm not imagining it. And so it's just strange to me. It's strange to me that, people have lived their whole life and they've experienced all these multitude of things, and they still don't understand the simplest, or won't accept these simple observations about life. That the decisions that you make are ripples in the pond. And you can't control the wave. You can only ride it. And sometimes the ride is amazing. You hang 10, and sometimes you wipe the fuck out. Or somebody else wipes out because you dropped in. Like, if you're not okay with those things, if you're not aware, and I think that's better. For me, I want to be aware. I want to be comfortable with the known and unknown before I make a move. And that's why I'm always pretty certain when I actually do push forward with something that I want to do. It's because this is the type of thought that's gone into whether I should do that thing or not. Not saying it's for everybody, but it's for me. So that's that thing. I saw an interview, political interview, with Kamala Harris. I'm on the outskirts, I'm on the fringes as far as my understanding and my thought process and perspective when it comes to politics and the presidential election, and not necessarily who to vote for, but just what's actually happening in the country, and what's real, and then what's for show. But in this interview, deciding if I should talk over. So, it was an interview with Charlemagne the God and Kamala Harris, like almost like a town hall. And I understand that sometimes there's a purpose, or there's always a purpose for these types of interviews, and to shed light and to give a little bit of perspective and clarity for people, a certain demographic. And it's promotion, and it's advertising, and it's all of those things, because there's always an agenda. Connotation or the morality of that agenda aside, there's always an agenda. And so I'm listening to this interview, and it wasn't really the interview that was so profound, but the thoughts that I had about the way that we as citizens or as people view the government and the legal system, and just in general, these entities that we feel are bound to assist our lives. And the the thought that I had in this moment was, there is no one system, no one entity, there is no one anything that can explain, justify, assist anything that's going on in our life outside of divinity, however you define divinity, based on your faith. And I'm not talking about just religion. I'm just talking about faith as far as what you actually believe in. I'm listening to Charlemagne ask Kamala about different issues that different platforms, different policies and problems, and how she feels like she's best equipped, or her policy plan to address certain things in our community, in our nation. And also just questions about her and the type of person or candidate or president that she would be. And one of the questions he asked was actually about her to respond to a criticism about she sticks to her talking points. She doesn't kind of veer off into any other things. She just stays focused on specific answers to questions. And her response, and I'm just paraphrasing, her response is, she's new to the campaign, new to the race, and that she's focused, and that she wants the American people to definitely be ingrained with what platform and what issues and policies and plans that she's standing on. All positive, like all of those things make sense. But the things that weren't being said, it's like, I can see how in politics, in expectations, in life, not just of the government, of romantic partners, of friendships, of jobs, of supervisors, of people, children, all of these things, the expectation that we have of, and I don't think it's even expectations. To go even deeper, it's the things that we want from these entities, right? We want these entities to exist, perform, absorb. We want them to be a thing. And reconciling that how they exist is independent of our wants or desires of them is a hard pill to swallow. It's something that if your mentality is not right, you can spend years punishing yourself or that person or that entity, or just having a really weird perspective, codependency, like all of these strange mental processes on how we see the things outside of ourselves come from that. And so, applying that to the political process, it's like, okay, listen, government can't solve all our problems. It can't. There are things that government has the authority to affect, but I hear discussions and it's like, well, you answered this question, but you didn't answer this, so you must not have a real plan. Or, but you answered this question, but you can't answer this, so you must be a horrible candidate. And it's like, What, as people, as sentient beings, what are we willing to, like, to get assistance? It doesn't come for free. The money has to come from somewhere. You don't want to pay taxes, but you think that the government should provide certain amenities. You want roads to be fixed in your house. I mean, fixed in your neighborhood, but you don't think that you should pay for those roads to be fixed. Where do they get the money from? Like, the most simplest system in the world is you pay taxes to your city, state, nation, so your city, state, or nation can take care of the things that city, state, and nation are responsible for. Now, talking about the management of those things, talking about, like, government is not a business, it's a business. They need profit. They have people working for them. This is not free. They're not volunteers. Yes, they're serviced. But, you know, I think that there's a false sense of, like, these are people doing these things. The government is a system, but it's a system that requires people to run it. And people have their own perspective and ideas. They have lives they have lives that they're living. And it just seems as if there's a lack of perspective. And I'm not, when I say that, I say it seems as if there's a lack of perspective. Or maybe there's a ton of perspective and people just don't care. I don't know. But it's just strange. I'm an observational cat, and just listening to and watching this process go on and how people talk. And then I speak from my truthful perspective. And I'll tell somebody, like, listen, man, six of one, half a dozen of the other, like, it doesn't matter. Things are going to be what they're going to be. There's a place where resources, space, opportunity, preparation, hard work, all those things have to exist to even give a chance to the existence that some of us are looking for. Just a chance, because you can't control what these things are going to produce. You know, and if you believe in any sort or type of divine existence, you could argue that all of these things have already existed prior to. So are you just playing into a pattern or an existence that's already out there? It's a play that's already been made. You're just existing in the midst of it. Are these things not supposed to happen for whatever's supposed to happen 10 years down the line? Like, you could lose your mind. I mean, you really could go on and on as to why things are going on the way they're going on. Or you could choose to be in the moment and just do what you do and live with the idea or the thought that things are going to happen the way they're going to happen. You know, I think if a person takes a position, takes a job, I believe that they should do their job. I don't expect them to, but I believe that they should. And holding someone accountable for not doing what they've stepped in to do, I think, is different than having an expectation. Because that person, I don't have an expectation of that person. I have an expectation of the position because the position is defined. So as a president, as a government, I don't have the expectation of the government to make my life perfect. I have the expectation of the government to take care of the things that the government is charged with taking care of. And a lot of things that people are asking of the government are not government issues. They're citizen issues. They're things that we, the people, not people in positions of power, everyday people should be doing. We need to take care of each other. And whether that's your family, whether that's seeing a little kid out in the street and choosing to do or not do, like there's a community, a sense of community and a sense of humanity that is missing in our nation that no presidential candidate, government system is going to fix. If we, the people, are broken, what the fuck do you think the government is going to be or appear to be? But you can't elect society. They're trying to engineer it with social media and the internet, but you can't elect it. So it's and again, I'll go on and on. There's so much, but I guess when it comes to this interview, it just the biggest thing that stuck out to me is listening to her go over and reiterate her points. Just kind of drove home to me that, people are there to do and fulfill specific roles. And then some shit, you just got to take care of yourself or just understand that this is just how it's going to be. And if you want something different, you're responsible for doing it. And that these people in these positions of power, you can't fix everything at the same time. Like in your life, if you want to be in shape, you have to give up time. You have to give up energy. You have to give up, there's a toll, there's a cost for everything that you want. And sometimes you don't have enough to do it all at the same time. Sometimes you need something from someone else. Like these, and I guess that's the common thread between these two different entities that I'm talking about is that, yeah, these things are possible that you're asking for, but are you willing to pay for it? You can have all these things, but are you willing to pay for it? I want to be a millionaire. Are you willing to work to be a millionaire? That's it. That's the question in life. These things are there, good, bad, or indifferent. Are you willing to pay that cost? Are you willing to sell your soul? Are you willing to be a bad person? Because you can go make millions doing some really fucked up shit. Are you willing to do that? I think that's the question that people really should be asking themselves. It's what I ask myself all the time. By the end of these things, I always come back to the fact that I'm having this conversation out loud for me, and I'm sharing it with you. And I don't know. But in any case, the truth lies here. I'll talk to you guys soon.